Hello and welcome to Melomaniax, the podcast where we take unbiased deep dives into the biggest musicians and bands of all time. I'm Ashton.
And I am Dallas. Today we're diving into Lil Wayne. As you guys know, his fame and music have eluded us till now. We haven't had a chance to do it, but we finally got to it. So before we dive in, please don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok. And please hit us with those 5-star reviews wherever you're listening to this podcast. It helps us keep the show growing, helps us move up in the algorithm, etc. And we really appreciate those. And we officially have launched our Patreon. We offer a $5 a month tier. That's going to give you access to our Discord, a shout out on an episode, and the ability to vote on episode topics. So with that spiel out of the way, let's get into it.
Lil Wayne. So how familiar are you, man? I'm probably only... I know I thought I had only heard about 3 songs. I think I ended up recognizing closer to 5 or 6 after doing the research, but
yeah, I probably know the same songs.
Just the
and then I really like that radio. Chris Brown song that he features in, although he features in everyone's song, huh?
Yeah, there's a lot of features.
Yeah, for sure. The rap world is big about that, and it can be a little confusing to keep up with, but yeah, it's probably I don't even know, man. I don't really keep up with this world too much, so today's going to be an interesting one for me.
So something I was thinking about, speaking of that, as far as all the features, I know we've talked about it in past episodes, but I was kind of thinking it's kind of part of the rap industry and hip hop business as a whole that you kind of can offer a feature for an X price. And so you can feature people on your songs and they just get paid a certain amount to do that. And it can be beneficial to you because if their name, draws more attention to your song, especially when they do the big features of a bunch of people together, that's pulling all fan bases together for that song. But
right.
I know Snoop Dogg charges $250,000 per song or whatever per feature. And so maybe the feature thing is kind of unique to that space where it's a business opportunity where they're kind of just selling their music ability instead of a band that just stays together and releases tracks and featuring's cool or whatnot. But with there, it's a business. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's that's why I feel that features happen so often is it's a constant hiring people onto your song.
Yeah, and they can probably knock it out quick.
Yeah, true.
Pop into a studio, sing a verse. You could do 10 verses a night.
Yep. Make your money and then you're gone. So
yeah. And then you don't have to worry about the marketing, the interview, none of that. You're just done.
Exactly. So that's why I was ever since I started kind of looking at more from the business perspective, I feel the features make a little more sense, but it does still get ridiculous. For some, there's still some of them that there's 10 to 12 listed on a song. And I'm all right. So that might be,
yeah, I don't know who's who, dude.
That might be too many slices of cake.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's dive in.
Yeah.
And we'll start at the beginning like we always do with Dwayne Michael Carter Jr. being born September 27th, 1982 in New Orleans, Louisiana. And he spent his early years in Holly Grove, which was an impoverished neighborhood in Louisiana's 17th Ward. And his mom was a 19-year-old cook when she had Wayne, and his parents divorced when he was only about 2 years old, and then his father abandoned the family. And he actually, the reason Wayne goes by Wayne is in an interview, he said he's a junior, and because his father is not in his life, he didn't want to go by Dwayne, so he went by Wayne ever since. And
yeah, that makes sense. I feel that's maybe not different enough, but that's all right.
Yeah, but it makes sense, I guess. Just not wanting to be the exact same.
As long as he's happy.
Yeah, I was going to say, just something to change it a little bit.
Here's a funny thing about the name Dwayne that I always think of. Do you say Dwayne, or do you just go Dwayne? Because it's technically supposed to be Dwayne, but I think everybody says Dwayne. I thought that's kind of weird.
They add an A in there?
They add something. Yeah, I always do. I was oh, Dwayne. It's just a two-syllable name.
But yeah, I guess if you get lazy with it, Dwayne is easier to
Well, once you start thinking about it, it'll mess with your head.
Yeah, it will, for sure. I kind of related this, not that you do it for the same reason. You do it because of your artistry, but I was you you were named a Dallas Ball, but you're not a junior. You're the third, second.
I'm
What
a
is
third, but not technically
not
because all of our middle names
middle
are
names
different.
are different? Oh, so it has to be an
Yeah.
exact
So
same
I'm-
middle name to be an exact like first, second, third.
Technically, yeah. So we're all Dallas D Ball.
Dallas
But we all
D-Ball,
have different
just
middle names.
middle names. But
Yeah,
I
so my
believe
granddad was Dallas Dale, my dad's Dallas Daniel, and I'm Dallas Dwight.
but with their law firms, they went by Dallas Ball, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And
Dallas
then-
D Ball, something
And
like
then,
that.
yeah, I was gonna say you go by the middle name, but that makes you like. I also feel like because you're a musician, you want your name to be able to be Googled, and I feel like if you Google Dallas Ball, it'll probably bring up your dad or grandpa. Until you,
Yeah, so I actually started
outshine them.
going by Dallas Dwight because when Facebook came out, I saw another kid in my class just put his first and middle name. I was like, oh, I kind of like that. That's cool. So I just did that, and then I just never changed it, and I started getting around town as a musician, and that's what everyone started knowing me as. So I was like, oh, I guess I'll just keep this then.
Oh, I was curious about that. I thought you just did it for like as you like an artist name like Dallas Dwight. But,
No, I mean it kind of all worked out that way, but that's not how it started at all.
oh, interesting. I didn't know
My
that.
friend's name was Lawrence Taylor Lucas, and he just put Lawrence Taylor. And I was like, oh, cool.
Maybe because of the football
I'll do
player.
that. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
So, anyways,
I just thought that now too, though.
yeah, I'll get back on track. Sorry, I was just curious. But anyways, growing up, Wayne was enrolled in the gifted program at Lafayette Elementary School, where and later he would attend Eleanor McMain Secondary School, where he was an honor student and a member of the drama club. And he actually wrote his first rap song at 8 years old. And when he was 9 years old, he met rapper and Cash Money Records co-founder Brian Baby Williams, who took Wayne under his wing and mentored him. And this would actually end up getting Wayne signed in 1994 by Cash Money Records at age 11, becoming the youngest member on the label. So
Yeah,
dude was
that's
killing
crazy.
it. Later that year, he was paired up in a duo with label mate BG, where they released an album called True Story in July of that year. And Wayne only featured on 3 tracks, but still pretty impressive at 11 years old, having music, get released. And in late 1994, Wayne suffered a near fatal gunshot wound to the chest. At the time, Wayne claimed that it was accidental, but many, many years later, he admitted that the gunshot wound was a suicide attempt after his mom told him he had to give up his musical career and keep, focusing on school. But they got past that because a few years later, Wayne and BG put together a hip hop group called Hot Boys and with label mates Juvenile and Turk, and they released their debut album, Get It How You Live, which released October 28th, 1997. And I don't have exact numbers, but the album sold about 300,000 copies within the first year. So between
insane.
Yeah, with his first couple features and then this first group, his mom kind of started to see the musical career pop off.
You think? Yeah, geez.
Yeah. And so Wayne went to attend Marion Abramson. Yeah, I think I got that. Senior high school.
Abramson, yeah, that's how I'd
Abramson.
say it for sure.
Yeah. And until about the age of 14 or 15, it's unclear. And to be honest, there's a lot of I can't figure out exactly when he dropped out. Everything says 14, 15, but based on interviews, it sounds like it was closer to 16, 17. But I'll put 14, 15 because that's what all sources say. But he dropped out of school to focus on his music career. In an interview, he actually recalls this specific scenario where he's getting ready for school in the morning and his mom sees him put his gun in his backpack, and she said, "Do you really need that?" And he said he needed it to feel safe at school, which makes sense. He's going to school in New Orleans. For anybody who doesn't know, New Orleans is one of the most violent cities in all of America. And his mom is actually the one who bought him that gun, by the way. Let me fill that in also for his own protection. But she kind of didn't like the gun to school thing, so she came back in the room after a couple minutes and was like, "Yeah, you don't go to school anymore. You're staying home." And so he ended up getting his GED and actually later got his degree at the University of Phoenix. So
Nice.
And throughout all of his schooling, he actually is straight A student. A lot of people don't know that too. So he's always in honor classes and always straight A's. So he's very smart.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep. All right. After a couple years, Hot Boys released their second album, Guerrilla Warfare, on July 27, 1999. And the album saw immediate success, debuting at number 5 on the Billboard 200. The album sold 142,000 copies in its first week. The first single from the album was We on Fire, which charted number 5 on the Billboard Hot Rap Singles. And the second single, I Need a Hot Girl, actually was able to hit the Billboard 100 at number 65. So once again, some early success. And what, 99? So he's 17 for this album. It's just everything he does. And then a few months after the release of Guerrilla Warfare, Wayne actually released his first solo album, The Block is Hot, on November 2nd, 1999. And so don't forget, 17 years old at the time. And he's just like, it's so impressive how much music he's already put out. And The Block is Hot debuted at number 3 on the Billboard 200 and sold over 200,000 copies in its first week. And the album ended up earning platinum by December that year. And those numbers are just crazy. Like 17-year-old with a platinum album. So sick.
Yeah, that's insane.
It had a the album came with one single, which was the title track, The Block is Hot, and that peaked at number 72 on the Billboard 100. I was kind of thinking, like, is this the youngest artist we've talked about to go platinum? Because I think Taylor was like 19 or 20 for her first.
I'll do a deep dive.
But I did already look up to see who the youngest is in general, and it's Jackie Evancho,
age 9. Yeah.
She was 9 at the time of recording, but 10 after the album released. So I don't know what they count as the record, because like an album can't technically go platinum till after it released, and sells.
Youngest rapper to go platinum was Lil Wayne.
So he's the youngest rapper. Okay. Nice. But I thought that was just impressive. Super impressive.
And then Demi Lovato was also very long. Here We Go Again hit number 1 when she was 16.
Ooh. Okay.
Well, there's actually 11 artists to score a number 1 album before turning 18. Billie Eilish, Shawn Mendes, Justin Bieber again, Demi Lovato, Miley Cyrus again, Hilary Duff again, Britney Spears, LeAnn Rimes. Wow, she got started young. LeAnn Rimes
12.
again, Tiffany, Stevie Wonder, Ricky Nelson.
Okay. Yeah, I remember LeAnn Rimes as Taylor's inspiration for wanting to be successful at a young age. So that makes sense. But yeah, that list sounds like pretty on point with what I'd imagined for the under 18. A lot of...
And Justin Bieber, and you'll recall from that list, is one of only 4 to top the Billboard 200 twice before turning 18.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's what he came on the scene
Bieber,
at like
Cyrus,
14.
Hilary Duff, and LeAnn Rimes. Yeah, he was pretty young, 14, 15 for sure.
14 when his first album under Usher's label came out, and then so he had 2, maybe even 3 by then, but 2. That's awesome. So Lil Wayne's on a pretty cool list.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But anyways, I'll get back on track. Wayne didn't waste too much time and released his second solo album about a year later on December 19th, 2000. And the album came nowhere near reaching the level of success as his debut, but it still peaked at number 16 on the Billboard 200. And the album was certified gold the following year in 2001 and has since gone platinum. But actually no singles on this album to talk about. Kind of just a forgotten album. And so then he immediately got back in the studio to put together his third.
But these aren't under his name, right?
These ones are. Yeah. These are solo albums.
So it's not under Hot Boys.
Nope. So Hot Boys put out their 2 albums, and then they I'll talk about it in a sec.
Then he jumped.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
So he's putting out the solo albums alongside. And so he gets back in the studio to get his third solo album put together, 500 Degrees, which was released July 23rd, 2002. And that album debuted at number 6 on the Billboard 200 and was certified gold by September of that year. And He actually released a single with this album, Way of Life, and it hit number 71, Billboard 100. And then, like you were talking about, I'm not sure exactly when, but Hot Boys broke up, I think, in 2001. It doesn't have an exact, but like according to the timeline, that's about the year that I narrowed it down to. But they had a bunch of unreleased recordings that they had done. And so in 2003, an album was dropped called Let 'Em Burn that just had a bunch of unreleased music. But they weren't together again. It was just like an album that came out after they broke up. And it charted at number 14 on the Billboard 200. And once again, also didn't have any singles or sales to really mention. I don't think it did that well.
Yeah.
Those albums that come out like
makes sense.
after a band is broken up, it's like it works well when you're a really big band, like with Pink Floyd having their thing come out. That makes sense because like they're not even together, and then an album comes out of unreleased music. That's like a hype thing. But if you're a band that like just broke up and like a year later an album comes out, it's probably not going to have a whole lot of hype or promotion behind it.
Yeah, true.
So that kind of makes sense why the sales were lacking there. But that's all right because Wayne moved right along. Dude wastes no time. Get that 4th studio album. And
I love that because you might be tempted to be like, oh, well, my best is behind me, you know?
Yeah, right.
Because he came out so strong and then slumped immediately. And then, to be fair, a slump is not really a slump by all accounts. It's just a slump next to that raging success of the first one. So it's easy to be like, oh, well, he's done. I'm over. I give up, you know. But nope, powered through. And as we all know, just because we know Lil Wayne is, it goes up from here.
I was going to say the best is yet to come.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
That's the power of perseverance right there.
That's right. He actually, I'll talk about it, but he's pretty known for being very, very hardworking, like extremely to the point that I believe it affected his health at some point. But all right. Anyways, that 4th album we're talking about came out in the summer of 2004 on June 29th, and he named it The Carter. And The Carter would debut at number 5 on the Billboard 200, and the album has been certified platinum. And its lead single was Bring It Back, which failed to chart. The second single, Go DJ, actually charted number 14 on the Billboard 100. And the third single was Earthquake, which also didn't chart. And he also would actually feature on a Destiny's Child single, Soldier, with T.I. after this album. And that song would hit number 3 on the Billboard 100. So you'll see. We'll talk about the Billboard 100 a bunch today. And so that album definitely kind of caught it back, you know, after those little couple of non-hitters, got another album to go platinum. So, but still not the same success that he hit with that debut. And in 2005, Wayne actually was named president of Cash Money Records, and he founded Young Money Entertainment as an imprint of Cash Money, so just like a sub-label basically, and would later pass on the management role to Cortez Bryant. And in Lil Wayne fashion, he got back in the studio to release album number 5, The Carter 2, which released December 6th, 2005. And this was the first album released with the name under the name Young Money Entertainment. And also longtime producer Manny Fresh, who produced all of Lil Wayne's albums up to this point, had left the label. And the new producer list was just like, goodness, you should see. It's just like the same with the features on the songs. The list on the producers is like 14 people long.
Yeah. So are you familiar with how rap production works? Because it's very different from any other type of music production.
No.
So generally, this is generally, the rappers don't make any of the music. They just come in and rap. So what they do is they basically, them or their label or whatever, will go shop beats. So all these producers from all over the world make beats all the time, trying to sell them, just hoping that Lil Wayne will pick their beat, or, you know, Drake will pick their beat or whatever. Mm-hmm. And the rappers will get a list of a certain amount of beats, and they'll be like, all right, I don't like number 1, number 5 I'll take, number 10 I really like, I could do something with that, you know, and they'll just basically shop and auction off these beats and pick them, and they buy exclusive licenses so no one else can use it, because that would be kind of weird to put out an album that goes number 1 and then someone else also puts out the same song with like a different rapper, you know?
Yeah.
So the producer in rap is a lot more than a producer in most other types of music. In other types of music, they're kind of like a director. They're like just making sure the best parts are coming out of the drums, the best parts are coming out of the guitars. Hey, the guitar player is doing this thing in this chorus, but it's really distracting from the vocal. Like, let's come up with something different. That's the producer's role. Or maybe he's helping with lyrics and stuff. But in rap, the producer is basically making the entire song. And it's usually one guy or a team of guys. And a lot of times, once somebody picks their song or their beat and it goes real big, everybody wants to go work with those guys or that guy or whatever. So they end up kind of becoming big deals that way.
Gotcha.
A lot of times they can work out the royalties to be a lot higher too. Regular producer would have like maybe 10 to 20% of a song. Rappers, producers can have 50% of a song.
Oh, wow.
So they're doing really good. But in this case, the reason you're seeing 15 producers is because he probably got a big old list of 100 beats and was like, I like this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. And the other guys might not even know their thing was chosen until it came out.
They all have to be listed.
I'm like, oh shit, that's my song. Like,
yeah, that makes sense.
I was wondering why my royalty check started rolling in, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome. So the album charted or hit the charts at number 2 on the Billboard 200 and would end up being certified double platinum. And the lead single from the album was Fireman, which hit number 32 on the Billboard 100. The second single was Hustler Music, which hit 87 on the Billboard 100. Third and final single released for the album was Shooter, and this song features Robin Thicke. And this song would also appear on Robin's album, The Evolution of Robin Thicke. But that song would fail to see the Billboard 100.
Okay.
After this album, Wayne would actually break the cycle and not immediately release a new album the next year. He took a few years releasing multiple mixtapes and was appearing on a variety of other artist tracks as features. Of all the mixtapes, 2 stood out to people, Dedication 2 and The Drought 3. The mixtape, The Drought Is Over 2, would actually be the basis for his next album. But before we get to that, we'll talk about some of these features because he goes kind of crazy during this year. Or I think it's 2 years, like 2007, 2008-ish.
Yep.
So anyways, Wayne showed up on the Chris Brown song, Gimme That, which hit 15 on the Billboard 100. Fat Joe's Make It Rain, which hit 43 on the Billboard 100. Lloyd's You, which peaked at number 9 on the charts. We Take It Over by DJ Khaled, which hit 28 on the Billboard 100. He showed up on Duffelbag Boy, which was Play His Circle's debut album. The song hit 15 on the Billboard 100. The next song was Sweetest Girl by Wyclef Jean, I believe you say that, which hit 12 on the charts. It's so funny. There's so many artists I never heard of going through this list or going through the research. The final song was I'm So Hood, which was a remix by DJ Khaled.
It's all the songs that you know but don't know the artist yet.
Yeah, exactly. Like I bet I could like listen to these and just like, oh yeah. Or I listened to most of them,
well,
but like
especially being that 2007-8 time, like that was peak like
you're just
high
listening
school.
to the
Everyone's like,
radio.
did you hear this new song? You know, all that stuff.
Oh
like,
yeah,
you don't even know this song, dude. You're so lame. All that stuff.
Yeah, that's just like growing up radio was this episode. That song hit 19 on the Billboard 100, and then he actually featured on some well-known albums as well. Get Back by Little Brother, American Gangster by Jay-Z, Graduation by Kanye West, and Insomniac by Enrique Iglesias. And he stayed busy enough to be named Workaholic of the Year by GQ magazine, and he was also ranked Rapper of the Year by The New Yorker. MTV polled him as hottest MC in the game and even best MC by Rolling Stone. So he was just absolutely on fire during this time.
He was just everywhere.
Yep, killing it.
Like every song that came out, it was like, oh, it's featuring Lil Wayne.
Yeah, basically. That was just his era. And in fact, in 2007, he said he would reunite with Hot Boys, and they planned to release an album after BG finished up with his solo album. But in the meantime, the Carter 3 was originally planned to release in 2007, but would be delayed to 2008 because some of the tracks were leaked and distributed as mixtapes. And Wayne originally had planned to release an album called The Leak that included the leaked tracks with 4 additional tracks, but ultimately ended up just being released as an EP with only 5 tracks on it. And after the delays, the Carter 3 finally released on June 10th, 2008. And I think this is the album I'm most familiar with, possibly the Carter 4, but this is the one that I'm mainly familiar with the album art more than anything. I'm
same.
familiar with some of the singles, but for anybody, the album art is a baby picture of Wayne with some face tattoos, hand tattoos photoshopped, and he's wearing a suit and has like a pinky ring. It's like a pretty iconic, I'd say, album artwork. I used to see it all over the place.
Oh yeah.
It's actually so sick. I love his that album artwork is so good.
Yeah, it's kind of funny too, you know.
Yeah, it's got that, I don't know, the Nirvana thing, putting babies on the cover. Let's go. But the album debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200. It went platinum in less than a week, actually, and almost went triple platinum within its first year. Up to date.
So is this because you think it's just coming on the heel of him being on all these, you know, features and stuff?
Possibly.
So he's basically gone out and featured on 100 artists. So he's now accessed 100 fan bases, of which you're going to scrape up a lot of fans, and then releases his own album.
He also
then
builds up a lot of
the new fans.
All the new fans, yeah, from the other artists come in. That is definitely part of it. And then also he builds a lot of hype with the Carter albums themselves, because it's like a series within, you know. And so like there's always
it's just weird that I guess it makes sense that 3, you know.
But yes,
more people went to see the last Harry Potter than the first. Like that makes sense.
But yes, you are correct. Like all these features and getting, because every time you feature, you're capturing a new fan base, basically, or some of them. You know, you're grabbing some new people. So yeah, it definitely makes sense that you did all these features and then releases an album like right at the peak of his, you know, popularity.
So triple platinum in the first year, but to date it's gone 8 times platinum.
Yep. So not quite diamond.
Almost diamond.
Almost diamond for sure. I don't think it'll make it there. It seems like most album sales are pretty plateau. It could get there if he were to, like, I hate to say it, but just like randomly die like early. I'd say
that's true.
That would probably spike it the rest of the way. But like I think
if there was some big beef or something crazy, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but mostly album sales kind of like they hit that plateau after a while.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Anyways, the lead single was Lollipop, which topped the charts for 5 weeks, and the song itself has been certified diamond, and I'd say is probably his most famous song. He's got a lot of famous ones,
sure.
but that one's
for sure
probably up there. The second single was A Milli, which was able to reach number 6 on the Billboard 100, and it actually won a Grammy for Best Rap Song. And the third single was Got Money, which featured T-Pain, and that song hit 10 on the Billboard 100. The fourth single released was Miss Officer, which featured Bobby Valentino, and the song peaked at number 16 on the charts. I only know the name Bobby Valentino from a Gorillaz feature that he has.
Oh, okay. Nice.
And then the album also had some additional promo singles released that also charted. The first was Three-Peat, which hit 66 on the charts. You Ain't Got Nothing, which hit 81 on the charts, and Mr. Carter, which featured Jay-Z, and that hit number 62 on the charts. Following the success of the album, Wayne actually locked into another contract with Cash Money Records for a few more albums. Like he does, because the dude is just busy. And so anyways, after the release of the Carter 3, Wayne performed at the Voodoo Experience in New Orleans, which was his biggest hometown set of his career. And then he buddied up with Kanye West and played the Virgin Mobile Music Fest. He also played the 2008 MTV Video Music Awards and made a musical appearance on Saturday Night Live. Then he actually was the first hip-hop act to perform at the Country Music Association Awards when he played All Summer Long with Kid Rock. And we were talking before the show. This is the clip, if anyone's seen it, of Lil Wayne horrendously not playing guitar next to somebody who's actually playing guitar.
So this sentence here, Lil Wayne plays All Summer Long with Kid Rock at the 2008 BET Hip-Hop, or the CMAs. That is the most 2008 sentence to ever have been said.
Right? that does like encompany 2008 pretty much.
Lil Wayne, all summer long, Kid Rock. That is it. Like
Yep.
that is those 2008. That's it, baby.
That's funny. Yeah. So there's some famous clips of that performance.
Well, I said the BET Hip Hop Awards. He also did play there, 2008.
He played at the 2008 BET Awards, and he actually won 8 awards out of 12 nominations there.
Jeez, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good hit rate.
Since we're talking about awards, Wayne was also nominated for 8 Grammys the same year, which he was able to sneak out with 4. Got Grammy Award for Best Rap Solo Performance for the song A Milli, Best Rap Performance by a Duo or Group for his appearance in Swagga Like Us, Best Rap Song for Lollipop, and Best Rap Album for The Carter 3. So, dude racked in the awards that year.
That makes sense.
Wayne continued to appear just about everywhere. He did an interview with Katie Couric around this time, which is a pretty funny interview.
It's an interesting matchup.
Yep. And then they do a follow-up interview like 10 years later, and the two are actually pretty good friends now and developed a good friendship. And the second interview, she actually gives them a skateboard and stuff. It's really awesome. And they kind of reflect off their first one. But yeah, that's an unlikely friendship. That one's really funny. I definitely recommend watching both those interviews for anybody who hasn't seen them. A lot of the clips from it you'll find going through YouTube Shorts and Instagram and stuff. But anyways, he also made an appearance on The Late Show with David Letterman and got a profile on VH1's Behind the Music. And then additionally, he had a documentary come out that year called The Carter with an E, not an A.
Right.
And on December 23rd, 2009, Wayne released a collaboration album with Young Money called We Are Young Money. And that album debuted at number 9 on the Billboard 200. And that album has been certified platinum. And the album came along with 4 singles. The first was Every Girl, which hit number 10 on the Billboard 100. The second was Bedrock, which hit number 2 on the Billboard 100. Third single was Steady Mobbin', which failed to see the charts. And finally, Roger That, which landed at 56 on the Billboard 100. Dude, I feel like he's just part of like every platinum record. Like, bro, he goes
sure
platinum
seems that way. Yeah,
so often
for this like time period. Yeah,
especially for the time period.
I think you're not far off.
In the early 2000s, and you're still getting platinum records is pretty impressive. And I know we did that conversion chart, but it still seems like harder to have a platinum record today than it was back then.
Oh, for sure, because the sales aren't happening. They'd have to measure it differently.
Exactly.
And then if you measure it differently and say, oh, you technically have a platinum record and the equivalent of streams, people will be like, oh, that's not really the same. You know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah, exactly.
That is over. They got to measure stuff differently, which I'm surprised they haven't come out with anything yet. That's like, or maybe they have. That's like, oh, your platinum stream, you're this, you're that. But with streaming numbers, you can say like, oh, I have 51,821 streams. Like it's a very specific number.
Yeah. True. So, anyways, following this album, Wayne had originally planned to reissue The Carter 3 with some leftover recordings, but he ended up just releasing another solo album instead, Rebirth. And so Rebirth was released on February 2nd, 2010. And this album was promoted as Wayne's debut rock album that had some hip hop on it. And so this album we were talking about before we went live as well. This has electric guitars, guitar solos. Instead of beats, it uses a live drum kit, which, speaking of, I believe was played by Travis Barker on most of the album. He's listed as a producer and some credit on some songs. They don't list like the musicians, but I'm pretty sure he laid down the drums for almost every song, which I thought was awesome because in the lyrics, there's a song where he goes, "Travis Bark is my drummer." So,
if Travis Barker's playing, you can usually tell.
Yeah.
I love this. I love this meme that I saw that's really funny. It said, "It's the hard times," which is worth a follow because they always post really funny like music related memes. Mm-hmm. But they wrote one that said, "Travis Barker asked to just like play normal for a second."
He can't. He doesn't know how, dude. Literally everything he does is just so.
Every drum beat is like,
great-
it's like, all right, dude. It sounds like you threw your drums down the stairs and they're like falling in time.
I'm waiting for the YouTube video. Travis Barker covers AC/DC.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
He looks so bored.
But do it his way, because that would be so awesome.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. No, but you know, all jokes aside, he's obviously a monster drummer.
Oh, for sure.
And producer and stuff too. He's involved in the hip hop world. This may have been how he got involved in it, but he does stuff to this day. And he's a producer and just all around killer.
He does a lot of YouTube stuff now, right? I feel like I've seen him doing some YouTube videos of some funny little drum clips. So, yeah, no, I'm a big fan of Barker. But anyways, talking about the album, it came onto the charts at number 2 on the Billboard 200. And as for sales, it's been certified platinum. Go figure. The album's lead single was Prom Queen, which hit 15 on the Billboard 100. The follow-up single was On Fire, which peaked at 62 on the Billboard 100. Third single was Da Da Da, which didn't make the charts. The fourth single for the album was Knockout, which hit 44 on the Billboard 100. And the final single associated with the album was Drop the World, which featured Eminem. And this one actually says it features Travis Barker, even though I'm pretty sure he was on every song. And this song would hit 18 on the Billboard 100. And in order to promote the two albums, Wayne headlined the Young Money Presents America's Most Wanted Music Festival that year, which I believe that was the first one. So, and then later in 2010, God, dude is so busy. I feel like he just needs.
Yeah, it was that like his time. I think was that like 2007 to like, what would you say, 2011, 12?
Yeah, somewhere in there, just hardcore. It's like, dude needs a break. I feel like he needs. Well, he'll get his break.
I remember this one. I'm Not a Human Being. I remember this one.
Yeah. So later,
I remember it being released and all that stuff.
All of that, yeah. So later in 2010, like we said, September 27th, he releases his 8th studio album, I Am Not a Human Being. And that album entered the charts at number 1, which he had been getting like 2s and 3s. So finally a number 1 coming out again. And the album has been certified double platinum. Came along with 2 singles. The first was I'm Single, which hit 82 on the Billboard 100. And right above it, which hit 6 on the Billboard 100. And I might mention that this album was the one that was released while he was serving time in prison. So this actually came out while he was incarcerated. And he served a 1-year sentence from March of 2010 to spring of 2011. And the charge was criminal possession of a weapon, I believe, for this one. And throughout like all of his career, he constantly gets in trouble and arrested for illegal possession of weapons and drugs, like those two all the time. Mm-hmm. It's just like you can go read about it on his Wikipedia. There's like 12 different instances. But he actually served prison time for this one. And following his incarceration, he released the highly anticipated The Carter 4, which released on August 29th of 2011. And can you guess where the album charted on the Billboard 200?
63.
Nope. Of course, number 1, because going to jail as a rapper is actually like the biggest promo you can have.
Yeah, it does seem to give you some like street cred. You know?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I was thinking about that. I was like, damn, that's about the biggest promotion.
Now, you may need to re-examine like the genre if that's a good thing, but you know.
Right. But yeah,
there may be some deeper, systemic problems there, but
I feel like
that
had some good influence on his album. But the album sold almost 1 million copies within its first week and has since gone 5 times platinum. And that album came along with 6 singles, a ton. The first is 6 Foot, 7 Foot, which broke the top 10 on the Billboard 100 at number 9. That was a song I was very, very familiar with as well. I specifically remember that one.
Yeah, I need to check that one out again because I recognize it, but I don't know I don't recognize the title.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, it samples from the oh god, what is the Banana song?
Oh, 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot bunch.
Yeah, it samples that.
Daylight come and me wanna go home.
Yeah, that's why it's called 6 foot, 7 foot, because it samples that song. The second single from the album was John, which featured Rick Ross, and that song peaked at number 22 on the Billboard 100. The third single off the album was How to Love, which also broke the top 10 at number 5 on the Billboard 100. The fourth single was She Will, which was which hit the Billboard 100 at number 3. And the fifth single released was It's Good, which charted at 79. And the final and sixth was Mirror. So many singles to talk about. Goodness gracious, which charted at 16 on the Billboard 100. My goodness. I feel like you have to release a bunch of singles because like every song you feature somebody feels like a single, right?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
because he started off with not many, and then as the albums go, it's just like 6 singles, like so many singles. But in the early days, it was like 1 or 2, which is way easier to keep track of. But tons and tons of Billboard 100 entries. Around the same time as the release of the album, The Carter 4, Wayne announced that he was working on a sequel to I Am Not a Human Being and Rebirth. So I Am Not a Human Being 2 was released on March 26, 2013. That album debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200 and reached a double platinum certification. And the album's first single was No Worries, which hit 29 on the Billboard 100. And the second single was Love Me, which hit number 9, so breaking that top 10 again. The third and final single from the album was Rich as Fuck, which was able to land 38 on the Billboard 100. And he actually followed this album by touring with 2 Chainz and T.I. on America's Most Wanted Festival the second one. If you remember, he went on the first one.
Yeah.
There was
that makes sense.
Here was one thing that stood out. There was no tour information on him, like tour sales or really anything tour wise. So I don't think he did like typical tours. I think he filled in with a bunch of festivals.
I found that to be really common in the rap world. They don't tour the same way other bands tour. I don't know why that is. Some of them might, but I don't know why that is. But I have noticed that as well. They just don't tour in the same way, which is weird because they could probably tour easy as hell.
Yeah, I thought that's where most money's at.
Just get a bunch. It's basically a DJ set. Like you just get a backing track to play the shit and get some cool stuff on stage, and then you just run out there and do your thing. Like you don't need a band, you don't need all this crazy stuff.
And they do tour and they do play live. It's just not. It's just like you're saying. It's not in the same like. I can't figure out any kind of formation to it. It's just like they show up at festivals and do random. It's like crazy too because
you could tour without a band and pocket all that money for yourself. Like
true.
You know?
Yeah. A lot of them still will get some live instruments, not all, but some.
Definitely.
But
and that makes for a better show, in my opinion.
Yeah,
but
way better.
You wouldn't need them.
Yeah, because when I went to see like Kendrick, like he had a live band, so like that's what I want to see. And of course, there's going to be backing tracks because you can't recreate everything you make on a beat with instruments.
Yep,
always. So, but I was just gonna bring that up. That's why I haven't really talked about any touring because there really wasn't any real record of it. I just assume he played random festivals and Warped tours and things like that, like most do. But anyways, now. Wayne had announced at the end of 2012 that The Carter 5 would be his last album for a while so he could pursue other interests. And after an announcement that The Carter 5 would be released on May 5th, 2014, the album would ultimately not be released on that date. And it was delayed despite some singles already being released for it. And Wayne was having issues with Cash Money Records boss Birdman. That was his name. Or what he went by. That was the head guy. And he felt like he was being held prisoner creatively, is how he put it. So like I'm pretty sure like the album got marked as delayed like 4 days before the release. It was like May 1st when they announced that it wouldn't be coming out. So
yeah,
people were pissed. But anyways, this would ultimately result in Wayne suing the label for delaying the release of the Carter 5. I don't think the lawsuit went anywhere, but in the meantime, Wayne wanted to put out a free album for the fans since they were having to wait so long for the Carter 5. And Wayne put out Free Wheezy album on July 4th, 2015. And the album charted at 77 on the Billboard 200 and didn't have any singles or songs to chart. But once again, it was just a little free album he put out just to help bridge the gap.
That's smart.
Right? Just to keep people like, I'm still here. I promise. I'm trying.
Yeah. I remember Backstreet Boys did something similar to that, if I remember. So did Guns N' Roses.
Just a little bridge album.
Yeah, Guns N' Roses was Lies. They put out the acoustic one.
The lie. Oh, that's right. Okay. Makes sense. Anyways, after he put out the free album, he was initially part of a collaboration album with fellow rapper 2 Chainz, and the album would be released March of 2016. And even though Wayne is featured on it, he doesn't receive any credit on the album due to his poor relationship with the label and the lawsuit at the time. So he was unable to get any credits for that. And at the time, Wayne was heavily considering quitting the music industry and was receiving a lot of encouragement from his peers to stick with it. Because basically it was kind of like the album was ready. The Carter 5 was put together. The label just wasn't releasing it. Is ultimately what this was down to. So very discouraging for him. But anyways,
that sucks too, because by the time it did come out, like the boat had kind of sailed on him. I think, like it obviously does well, but when I think of Lil Wayne, I definitely don't think
of that
2018, 2020. I think 2007, 2008.
Yeah, for sure. I was gonna say, the album still does well, just not as well numbers wise. But anyways, after 6 years of the initial announcement for the album, the Carter 5 finally gets released September 27th of 2018. And the album entered the charts at number 1 on the Billboard 200. It only went double platinum, which he still went platinum, but that is kind of feels less considering the popularity.
Yeah, it's because so much time had passed, I think.
Here's a crazy stat. Every song on the album charted on the Billboard 100.
Nice.
Including 4 top 10 entries. The album had 2 singles. The first single was Uproar, which charted at number 7. And the second single was Don't Cry, which hit number 5 on the Billboard 100. One other song to note is Mona Lisa, which features Kendrick Lamar, and that song actually hit number 2 on the Billboard 100. So, and it's not like just a 6 or 7. It's like 13 to 15 songs that all charted. Mm-hmm. So it was like pretty decent. And I assume most of that was just because of the hype, for such a long release date. Like you said, it definitely hurt sales because so much happens in 4 years in the music industry. Like what you recorded 4 years ago could just be so irrelevant 4 years later.
Yeah.
But I think he had an established enough fan base to support this album. So that's probably where you see it succeed, but not as well as it could have if they were to release it probably 4 years previous. Probably could have seen a lot more
because
success.
I don't know the details, but it seems like the label was being kind of a little petty, and they could have helped themselves by releasing it sooner, like striking while the iron was still hot.
Right.
So who knows?
But yeah, I was gonna say we don't know the details of the lawsuit, of the relationship. That's all gray area. But anyways, during the recording of the Carter 5, Wayne had already announced the follow-up album, Funeral. And so Funeral would be released January 31st, 2020, and the album would enter the charts at the top 10. Oh, sorry. Entered the charts at the top number 1 spot. Sorry, I wrote
top 1.
Top 1, number 1, not 10. That's a difference. I'm being disrespectful. Yeah, I know. I'm being disrespectful right now. Somebody should smack
which
me.
is funny because what you said was not wrong, but definitely painted it in a different, like, hey, he's in the top 10 he's number 1. Like, that's the same thing. That's the exact same thing.
It's just one sounds
very
way
different
better than the other.
Yeah. I finished my race in the top 10.
That already you're thinking like 9, 8.
Yeah.
You're assuming like, well, he's trying to make it sound better than it really is, right? That's like the humble.
Yep.
Yeah, I finished top 10.
Yep.
I finished.
Exactly.
Anyways, sorry for the disrespect. So the album entered the charts at the top, number 1 position, and album had a single from the regular album and then a single from the deluxe edition. So the first single was I Do It, which peaked at 33 on the Billboard 100, and the other single was Shimmy, which failed to chart. And I actually couldn't find any info on album sales for this one, so I assume it was not a heater like the rest. But anyways, right after the release of this album, Wayne competed in season 3 of The Masked Singer, and actually was the first eliminated from the show, but he performed a Lenny Kravitz song. I can't remember what gets you eliminated or what keeps you on. I haven't ever really watched that show. Either. I just watch performances when I do research, but I don't actually, I don't know anything about the show. But
I think you have to come on, do your thing in your mask. Nobody knows who you are. If I remember correctly, which I don't, I'm really guessing here. I think they vote based on who had the best performance. And so whoever had the worst performance then gets revealed, I think. And then they kind of guess like who it is and stuff like that. But I think you get revealed after you lose.
Okay.
And then you lose, I think, based on like, didn't have the best performance or whatever it is.
Yeah. So he was the robot and then he picked the robot because he said his kids liked the robot when he watched the show with them. But I think T-Pain won The Masked Singer the year he was in it, if I remember correctly. This could have been the same year too, but I know T-Pain performed in The Masked Singer and killed it. People had no idea because he was just like absolutely a killer singer, and nobody ever had really heard him outside of his auto-tune music. And so when he came on and just was killing it, everyone was like, who the fuck is this? So I'm pretty sure T-Pain won The Masked Singer. Just a little side.
He's an amazing singer. He put out that cover album where he did like Journey songs and Black Sabbath songs, like all sorts of cool stuff. He's a great singer.
That's right. Anyways, we'll keep talking about Wayne. We'll get to T-Pain another day. Later in 2020, Wayne launched a radio show with Dash Radio called Young Money Radio. It has Wayne with guests talking about all kinds of stuff like sports, music, comedy, random topics. And I pulled it up briefly. It looks like you get some athletes on there, some musicians. Like it's got some good guests.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's not bad. And Wayne announced that he was working on I Am Not a Human Being 3, but the album has been delayed and we still haven't seen it yet as of May 20th, 2024, but I assume it's still in the works. And in the meantime, his first greatest hits album came out, I Am Music, and that released March 31st last year, 2023. He is currently working on The Carter 6, and we're still waiting to see, what's coming out first. If he's actually still going to release I Am Not a Human Being 3, or if The Carter 6 is going to come out first. We don't really know. That catches up to current times with his music. I wanted to mention just a couple things. I know I just said Wayne actually has 4 kids. Regina, Dwayne, Cameron, and Dwayne actually, I believe, is a junior as well.
Nice.
Cameron and Neil. And from all accounts and interviews I saw, he's awesome dad, loves his kids. I also mentioned he got into skateboarding in the middle of his career. And I've seen him implement it in some of his shows, his live shows, where he brings a half pipe on stage and skates it. So it's really cool. He's not like the greatest skater, but like he's good enough and loves it.
Nice.
Yeah. I respect it.
Cool.
Because I used to be a skateboarder.
Oh yeah. I remember.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Actually, yeah, we used to skate back in the day. We had the little half pipe in the garage.
6th grade. Everybody skated in 6th grade.
Oh yeah, everybody did.
Everybody bought skate shoes and skated.
But anyways, that's catching us up with Lil Wayne. There were probably some more features along the way I could have mentioned, but goodness gracious, there's so many. I mentioned basically the ones that charted in the Billboard 100, but you can find him all over the place. And actually have a good bit of respect for him, and he actually might make my top 10 rapper list. I kind of liked it a good bit.
Nice. That's awesome. Love when we discover new stuff on the show.
Yes, sir. So
that brings us to our ratings for the day.
Yeah, we got some ratings to do.
As you guys know, or maybe you don't know if you're new, we break our ratings down. Well, let me back up. We try to give us the unbiased deep dives into the music, right? And we deliver that throughout the show. But at the end of the show, we like to get a little biased and just give you our personal thoughts and opinions on what we learned doing these episodes. We do that by averaging out 5 different categories. Those categories are creativity, replayability, cultural impact, emotional connection, and nostalgia factor. I think all those are pretty obvious. We sometimes get into the weeds on emotional connection versus nostalgia factor. To me, emotional connection is how much you connect with the music, and nostalgia is how much that music is a part of your past. So that's kind of how we're looking at it. We rate each of those out of 5, then average them up at the end for a total. And that's what we're going to do now. So, Ashton, creativity. Lil Wayne, what you thinking?
Creativity, I've got him.
And also, let me stop you there, though, real quick. I would say, I would ask you to define how you're thinking of creativity as you explain it, so we understand.
Yep, I gotcha. So I've got him at a 3 out of 5. For a couple different reasons. First, he's very creative with lyrics. We have to remember he's famously known for not writing anything down. He does not keep a journal. He does not write his lyrics. He basically shows up and does them live. So he's very, very, very creative with his writing process. I
think Jay-Z's the same way, actually. Yeah,
him and Jay-Z have worked with each other a lot throughout. And they also kind of dominated the same time period, at those early 2000s. But yeah, both are really, really good. So he's very creative with his lyric writing. I thought it was creative to implement that rock album. That's a risk, and I actually
what was the name of that one again?
That was Rebirth, I believe.
That's right.
I believe it was Rebirth. Yeah. So that one, I thought that one definitely was a lot of his creativity. And then he was just one of the earlier, as we were talking about auto-tune with T-Pain. I know T-Pain's famous for it, but Lil Wayne did a lot of that auto-tune sound in the early 2000s. Mm-hmm. So,
yep,
I've got him at a 3.
Yeah, I'm actually going to match you at a 3 on that for many of the same reasons. With lyrics, especially in rap, they're kind of king, and there's so many more of them than other genres. So to keep that freshness, keep that creativity going, and to be at the top of your game throughout an entire career, that's got to be tough. That's something I don't understand. So mad respect.
Yeah, definitely his smarts coming through with that.
Other artists can get away with singing really simple stuff, small verses, quick hooks, and the whole lyrics take up like half a page. But rap isn't really like that. You got pages of lyrics sometimes.
Yeah, that makes me think of Bruce Springsteen's, one of the songs I like, I'm on Fire, which has like 12 lines, like maybe total in the whole song.
Yeah.
It's
right.
like
Knocking on Heaven's Door,
like
Bob
no
Dylan.
Lyrics, dude.
2 4-line verses, and then the chorus is simply knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door 4 times. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Just like that's such a simple.
It barely fills up like a paragraph.
And they have so many lyrics, especially Eminem songs, because he fits a lot.
And not
of
saying one's better or worse, because that's all entirely up to you, the listener, or whatever you like. But there's a different level of proficiency maybe required to have that many. But anyway, we could debate that all day. Replayability.
I'm actually at about a 2 out of 5 here. And which is crazy. I know it sounds like I would be at a higher up. And I do like a lot of his music. I heard enough of it on the radio growing up, and not that I've heard enough. It was cool to dive back in and hear some of the other songs I didn't know. In fact, I actually have a couple that I like that went to my playlist for replaying. So he had some replayability in there, just not everything. As a whole, I'm not gonna consistently go back and listen to him.
Yeah, I'm gonna match you on that again. 2 out of 5. Lil Wayne, you put him on at a party, like he's gonna kick the party off. So it's got replay value in that aspect. But for me personally, it's not something I'm continuously going back to for sure.
Yep. Cultural impact. All right, I've got
this one's this one is probably you could argue the most objective out of these 5. Cultural impact is something you can pretty much see and measure within reason. Yeah. Someone like Taylor Swift, we famously in episode 3 gave her a 6 out of 5. Like the cultural impact is obvious,
immense with her.
So,
yeah. And it was pretty big with Lil Wayne, and that's why I'm really in between a 3 and a 4 here. if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
It's hard to decide.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit you with a 3. I'm gonna start that out with a 3 myself.
Yeah, so
because I think he definitely impacted culture for sure, but it wasn't so much. It wasn't
it
massive,
wasn't solely him.
It was big.
Yeah,
it was big, but it wasn't. It wasn't like 4 or 5.
I'm gonna be at a 3 out of 5 with you there. Which brings us to
emotional connection.
Which
this is how you yourself, the listener, or Ashton, or me, relate to the music and the content in the music. And I think we're both coming in at a 1 out of 5 here. I don't relate to gang culture, and I just don't. So
yeah, unfortunately,
and there's more to it than that. But it's just not part of my life and my world, so I can't relate to it. I'm sure a lot of people really can.
I was gonna say, but we can still listen and enjoy for the art that it is. So like you said, I'm at a 1 out of 5 for the emotional connection. But we'll move right along to nostalgia.
Now the nostalgia factor. This one's got to be. Yeah, you did the same thing. I see. I'm going to do a 3 as well because this was high school.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm at a 3 out of 5. I didn't listen to this kind of music, but it was so around that I still am at a 3 out of 5. Like I was listening to basically pure classic rock, and I still have nostalgia of listening to Lil Wayne to just show you how. Same. That's what I'm saying. Like that's how impactful his music was. That we even listened to it
something
outside
I was
of our
seeking
genres.
out.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
we still listen to it. So that's kind of cool that he's able to get a nostalgia factor of 3, even though we didn't seek out listening to him.
Yeah, for sure. And for the first time ever, Ashton and I have both finished with a 2.4 out of 5. Not only did we finish with the same score, we ranked every category the same way.
Yeah, this is the
that
first
has never
time.
happened before. Yep. And that wasn't me just copying you. I know I went second, but I was really trying to think through each of these for myself, and that's what I came up with.
Yeah.
How you feel about that?
I think that's right about where I expected to land. I didn't think he would be able to get higher than a. I was like, I didn't think he'd be able to get higher than a 3, but after doing the research, I was like, I definitely know he won't be below a 2. So I think I'm pretty happy with where he landed, right there in the middle. And people,
once again, doing the research has delivered a newfound respect for the people we do.
Yeah, and I would consider it. And if you're thinking our ratings out of 5 sound harsh, I would say an artist for me that's like, if I were to say what would an artist that I just straight up don't like score, it'd probably be like around a 1.5 or less. Like that's probably about the range where you're starting to like, I'm really out on that.
Anything less than a 2, you think? Yeah.
Yeah. Once and it could be subjective in that 1.5 to 2 range. I feel like there could still be some decent points, but yeah, once you're hitting 2 and higher, I'd say that's good. Below 2, there's some question marks.
We've yet to get, I think, anywhere close to a.
I thought you had 5. One that was
have we
below a 2? Maybe not.
Did I really?
I thought it was like a 1.9 or 1.8, but I could be wrong. No, you might have been over 2 on all of them.
I'm looking back at our list here. I don't think so. It would have maybe been Usher or Bob Marley. No, Usher I have a 2.4.
Might have been Bob.
Oh, Bob Marley I have a 1.8. Yeah.
There it is.
And that's no hate on Bob, but
that's just not your style of music at all, I'd say.
Yeah, and I mean I love it, but to me it's a vibe setter and more background than anything else.
If I had to rank Blur separate, did we rank Blur separate from Gorillaz?
We actually may have. Let me double check that real
Blur
quick.
might be a less than 2. And if not, then I need to readjust my ratings.
Oh, okay. So actually when we did Blur and Gorillaz, we did rate them separately, but we did not break it into the 5 categories. So you had Blur at a 3 out of 5 and Gorillaz at a 4.5 out of 5. So that's almost certainly due to the fact that we didn't have such a sophisticated, well thought out system at the time.
Yeah, I believe the new system would be giving Blur like, I can do it real quick. 1,
and
1,
you've sat
2.
1. Hey, it's a 1.
Yeah, it's a 1.
Yeah. Wow. 1. The average of 5 ones is 1. Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
Yeah. For my ratings for Blur and Gorillaz, I have no idea because I forgot to write them down. I must have talked about them live on the show and then just didn't write them in the document.
If I remember, I think you're at like a 3 for Gorillaz and like a 2 or a 1 for Blur.
That sounds right. I'd say 2.
I want to say you were at like a 3
give
out
someone
of 5
a 1
for Gorillaz.
I wouldn't give someone a 1 that I didn't feel like I gave adequate attention to. You know, like if I give you a 1, it's because I've gone through everything you've done and I don't like any of it.
Yeah, exactly.
which is extremely rare. I can usually find something I like.
Right? There's a reason that they're famous, right? For somewhere in there, there's a reason that music is famous, and there's got to be something.
It's connecting, yeah, for sure. Something redeeming about it, for sure.
But anyways, that wraps up today. We did Lil Wayne.
That's right.
And remember, guys, we are on YouTube. We love subscriptions and likes over there. Also, follow us on TikTok and Instagram, as well as giving us reviews on wherever you're listening to our podcast, whether it be Apple Music, Spotify, insert other random podcast host. And we also launched a Patreon at $5 a month that gives you access to our Discord, as well as the ability to vote on future topics and get a shout out in our episodes. But that'll do it today. Just want to thank you guys for listening.
Absolutely. Till next time. We'll see you later.